Okay, and I reviewed for you as Passionate Bliss, um, Married at First Sight, but there was a standout character that I did not mention. The standout character is Mecca's father, and I believe his name is Logic, and he is a high school assistant principal. Um, I did take note of him. I did see him as a standout character, but I didn't mention him because he's only present for the wedding. Typically, in Married at First Sight, the parents aren't making recurrent pop ups on the show. So my expectation that I was never going to see this man again. So I didn't really mention him. I did mention one of the other couple's father because he stood up and interrupted the actual event more than once out of character. Mecca's dad was seen talking with the bride a good bit more than usual, but that's not unusual for a parent to talk to the bride or the groom. It's typical, as a matter of fact. But I felt like he was acting in a positive role when he was speaking to the bride because I think he was trying to help his son figure out, does she really like me? Is she interested in me? But at this age, his daddy shouldn't be having to find out, does she like me? Is she interested in me? He should be able to figure that out for himself, but it seems like he may not be good with picking up on social cues, and he relies on his friends and his dad to tell him things like that. I feel like he's also not typically used to pursuing women because his dad said that he was trying to get him out of the habit of saying, I like who likes me. So I feel like he's used to letting women approach him and come after him and pursue him. So he doesn't know if a woman is interested in him unless they pursue him. And in this case, that's not being done for him this time. So he has to find out for himself, does she actually like me? And he seems to be unable to really read the cues. What does it mean, the kiss on the cheeks? What do you think this means? What do you think that means? He seems like he needs a lot of help in deciphering the social cues from women. And so I feel like he hasn't dated a lot of black women either. Because usually people that I've met who say, I like who likes me, that's usually their rationale for why they're dating outside of their race. So I think he typically dates outside of his race. His dad didn't really care for that. So I think his dad is trying to help him facilitate this relationship as much as he can. But, you know, that's really not your role at this age. But I kind of let it go because I felt like the dad was trying to help him out. And also, I can see that the dad has a huge sense of humor. The son also has a huge sense of humor. So I think they're one of these families. And just as a member of the black community, we know that black people, roasting is a part of our culture. Clowning people, dragging people, reading people, whatever you want to call it, cutting up, it's a part of our culture. So seeing a family that roast each other at a wedding like this is not unusual in the black community. A lot of people, however, especially if you're on the bougie side of things, they would find that embarrassing. But I would not personally find that embarrassing. Mecca did not find that embarrassing. The bride wasn't really sure what to make of it, so I don't think they really roast each other like that in her family. But this is not unusual. People were saying, oh, he had too much to say and he shouldn't have told those stories. He did too much. It depends on your family and how they get down. And nobody in their family seemed like it was outrageous to them. Nobody thought anything of it. I think this is how they behave normally. And it was normal to me. As long as he lands the plane, and even though he told about his, work and job history, it was funny the way he told it. And he did land the plane and make it complimentary towards his son that he is, pleased with the character of the man that his son has become through all his trials and tribulations. So he landed the plane. So it wasn't too bad. It was a slight roast. I love a roast personally myself, as long as you don't insult me personally in the roast and you land the plane and it's funny and it's cute, good to go. And his dad did that. So I didn't have an issue with the dad even with his toast, which I understand that other people have had. But apparently, some people were so bothered by the dad being extra that you know, they went digging up in his past and said that he had lawsuits against him as a assistant principal, and that the school board stood behind him. Said that they've had multiple lawsuits over multiple years. They've been asked to make statements, and it was statements involving children and students and parents. And um, from the article that I saw reviewed on another channel, it seemed like the lawsuit was about the fact that the dad is also a rapper, and he talked about sex and school shootings and, um, you know, I guess gang life. And they said that it was inappropriate for him to be a principal influencing children when he's putting out rap lyrics like this. And again, I could see why the school board would stand behind him in that case, because that's got jack all to do with his job. And I understand that it was, he said, two white women that brought the lawsuit because they were upset at his disciplining of their children, including expulsion and his behavior. And again, the school stood behind him. So it sounds like, two Karens have got a vendetta against him and have been bringing lawsuits and starting trouble as much as they could, which is what they do a lot of times with black men in the positions of authority. They want to cause trouble for him. They want to have their way because they, were treated like everybody else by a black male authority figure. And we know the Karens cannot have this. They cannot let that go. So you're going to have to show me that there was some wrongdoing. If you don't like his jokes, you don't think he's funny, you don't think that, he should be heard, he should be seen and not heard. That's a you thing. That's not a him thing. And anybody who's listened to me long enough knows that I don't cut black men any slack at all. But the dad may not be your cup of tea, but he's not problematic. Now, we see him popping back up again and talking. But one thing I did remember thinking consistently when his dad would pop up, I was like, okay, he don't need to pay his daddy no attention. I see why his wife left him. He does do too much. I feel like he's the type that probably had an affair on this lady, and she packed up her kids up and she left because he liked to be seen too much, and he need to ignore him almost everything his daddy got to say. Now, I did think that, but that's not enough for me to, try to witch hunt this guy and act like he's a reprobate of some kind when he has not shown that. You don't have to like people's jokes. You don't have to like, their personality. Just because he's more outgoing than you, it's not a reason to rake him over the coals. The man is educated. He's a professional. He does a good job. And please believe if that board could have fired him, they would have. But the thing about it, in 2026, if they had fired him, he probably would have had a wrongful termination lawsuit and would have come right back at them, which they know. And they're not willing to pay him just to satisfy these two Karens who don't like that their kids was disciplined. So, and also, qualified educators are hard to come by who are willing to work for those education salaries. So they're not itching to fire nobody, in these days and age and time in the education system, unless you've done something inappropriate. And if he had done something inappropriate, they would have got rid of him. So, let me know what you think below. And also comment, subscribe, etc., so on and so forth. Talk to you later.